I have something to share with you that might change your opinion of me, but I'm deciding to be radically honest. And that fact is that I'm a romance hater. I've been known to enjoy some romance books, but nonetheless, I consider myself a romance hater because I don't want to spend my money on romance books. I'm not generally interested in the topic, and especially romantasy just like makes me want to vomit the idea of it. So I've decided to challenge these preconceived notions and spend the next week or so reading 4 romantasy books in the spirit of Valentine's Day, which is coming up shortly. So let me talk you through the books, which I know nothing about, spoiler alert, and then we'll get into reading them. So this video has actually been like a long time in the making. Meaning I bought these books like a long time ago and then never wanted to make this video because I didn't want to read romantasy books, and I've just put it off over and over and over until it's at the point where I really need to film it. So the first 3 books here I got off of the 2023 Goodreads Choice Awards list. And those 3 books are Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, I don't know how to say her last name, The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten, and The Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. And the 4th book is Psyche and Arrows by Luna McNamara. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today. So, the thing is, I know nothing about any of these books, and I'm going in completely blind. And part of me was like, maybe I should read the back and like try to summarize it for you, but I feel like it's hard to summarize these romantasy books because like they don't really have much of a plot beyond the romance, but then they try to throw in all these fantasy elements, so it's just confusing to read the synopsis. So, I'm just gonna get reading, and I will let you know what I think. The first book I'm going to pick up is the book I think I'm going to hate the most, which is Assistant to the Villain. Something about this just seems so cringy to me. I think it's the cover. Like, on the cover, there's like a little frog saying, "Help!" And it says, "Only the good die." And it just seems like, look at this cover. This is not a cover I personally would ever be drawn to in any situation. So, I'm going to start with this one. And I will let you know once I have a synopsis. I will let you know once I'm finished reading it, what my thoughts are. And I'm not looking forward to this. So let's just peel the band-aid off and let's just get started. I'm wearing the ugliest sweater I own, so don't judge me. It is very cold. My father keeps the house at like 60 degrees. Anyway, I'm filming because I'm 50 pages into Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I don't know. I don't know how to say anything. Anyway, figured it was time for me to give you a little bit of a synopsis. I'm only 50 pages in, so nothing I'm going to say is a spoiler. Essentially, you're following this main character, Evie, who at the beginning of the novel is struggling to find work. She actually found a job, but she gave it to someone else. And for some godforsaken reason, she okay, so like in her village or something, there's widely known to be this villain in the forest. But for some reason, she's just strolling along in the forest. Don't know why. When she knows there's a villain in there, she's scared of him. And she comes across the villain, because of course she does. And he's like getting chased by these people or something, and she just like starts running with him for some unknown reason, even though she knows that he's the villain. I guess she just sees that he's hot. And then she's like, I'll run along with you, even though I've heard nothing but you like brutally murdering people. So she like offhand mentions to him that she needs a job, and so he hires her. And now she's his assistant, and she's going to work at his like enchanted castle that's hidden from everyone else. And the one thing that's happening in the plot is that she's going to work, and apparently someone there has been betraying him, and they need to find out who's doing it. And that's really the only thing that's happened so far. I will say, I am hating it. Like, I knew I was gonna hate it, but I didn't think it would be hard to get 50 pages in. Like, that's normally the start of a book. It's normally not a very, like, far-fetched, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's just not hard to get that far into a book usually, especially in the beginning. Usually there's something that grips you or something. This book is just so bad. The worst part about this book is that it's trying so hard to be funny, and it's just, like, not funny at all. Like, first of all, there's all these plot holes and just things that just are stupid. Like, why was she in the forest when she knows the evil guy is there? Why did she immediately start following the evil guy? Why did she take a job? I mean, she took a job because she needs a job really badly. Like, she's the only one in her family that can work. Her father's sick. Her sister is very young. Her mom left. I don't know what happened to her brother. I think he died or something. So she desperately needed work. It made sense that she took the job, but just like, really? There are no other jobs. You just had to work for this villain. And then, of course, every other sentence is like, he's so hot. Like, that jawline, his hair, his eyes. It's like, okay, we get it. We get that you're attracted to him. Anyway, I want to read you an example of the humor. So this is on page 26, so not a spoiler in any sense of the word. She's also, of course she is, she's very clumsy, you see. And it's very endearing to the villain that she's clumsy. Hate it. I hate it. And so, like, she's at work and she, like, falls off the chair or something. And she says, ouch. And then the villain comes running out of his office to, like, see why she said that. And he asks her if she needs to see the healer, because apparently he employs a healer as well. And then she says, no, sir, I wouldn't want to subject Tatiana to my war with the chair. Best to keep this between us, or it may enlist the other chairs in a revolt. And then he laughs. Like, a lot to that. Like, he laughs so much that he has to, like, pretend he's coughing. That's funny to him. That's not even, like, there are times when I'll read a book that's supposed to be funny, and it won't be funny at all to me, but I can at least see the humor. I can't see how anyone would find that funny. And this book is just full of moments like that. I don't know. Or, like, it mentions how she comes into work and there's a dead body on her desk. And she's just like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to read it. But I'm dedicated. First of all, I spent my money on this, so I have to read it. Second of all, I'm dedicated to making this video. And if this is as painful as the video is gonna get, like, I'm resilient. I can get through that. I have faith in myself. Anyway, I'm just babbling now so that I don't have to read this. My goal is to, like, read as much of this as I can today. I'm taking the day off from studying, which is certainly a wise choice, considering I'm, like, 2 weeks behind in my studying. I'm taking the day off so that I can read this instead. So if you ever thought that I didn't prioritize my stupid little YouTube videos in my life, you were certainly wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna get reading now, and I really don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it. So I'll see you soon. See ya. I am back. I have finished Assistant to the Villain. Thank the Lord. And I have some shit to say, I'm gonna be honest. I think the first thing I want to say is just, I'm giving this 1 star. It's an objectively bad book. Like, I'm so sorry if this is your favorite book you've ever read. I did not like it. I think my romance hater title still stands right now. First of all, writing's terrible. Second of all, nothing makes sense. Third of all, romance was subpar. I don't understand why people are rating this so highly. The Goodreads rating is like a 3.9. I saw one person on Goodreads review it and say that the average rating is like against democracy. Like, I can't. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I think my biggest issue with this book is just the fact that it doesn't fucking make any sense. Like, even back to the main premise. Like I said before, you're following this main character named Evie. She's grown up knowing that there's this awful, terrible man named the villain. Everyone's so afraid of him. They don't even go in the forest because they know he's there somewhere. But she goes to the forest because of course she does. And then she runs into him because of course she does. And like immediately after running into him, she's just like, oh, hi. You're the villain. Wow, how crazy. Like, he's being chased and she runs with him, not away from him. Even though she knows he's like this notorious, terrible person. It doesn't make any sense. And then like he offers her a job. That doesn't really make sense. Just because she offhandedly mentions that she doesn't have a job, which is like a really awkward way of putting that into the plot, by the way. But he just offers her a job. He doesn't know this girl. He's a notorious, big, bad villain, and he's just gonna offer this random girl a job at his employ? No. And I think, like, throughout this book, there's really no explanation anywhere as to why he's considered a villain. Like, we're told over and over and over, like, she calls him evilness, and, like, he's scowling at people a lot, and, like, always trying to maintain this demeanor of, like, the evil one and stuff. But he never does anything bad. I mean, like, yeah, like, he kills people sometimes, but this is a fantasy novel. That's just, like, commonplace for that. And it's never described as him, like, killing someone for no good reason, you know? Like, there's dead bodies, but other than that, he never does anything bad throughout this entire book. Like, everything he does is morally good, other than killing. But even then, it can make sense sometimes morally if you really think about it. I'm not standing for killing, but I'm annoyed at this book, so I'm just ranting. The only bad thing he does in this book is scowl at people and laugh at bad jokes. It doesn't make any sense. Plus, he's supposed to be this, like, villainous mastermind, but he's frighteningly stupid for that title. Like, oh my god. He never disguises himself. He uses his regular name on, like, a regular basis. Like, he tells Evie his name, like, immediately. And then he's constantly going into the village, not disguised at all, using his real name in the village. And this is supposed to be justified because there's, like, wanted posters of him everywhere, and they have, like, the wrong image. They're always portraying him as not hot. And don't worry, he's very hot. This book will describe to you how hot he is every second it gets. And, like, it is revealed, though, that the king knows who he is. So it's like, you don't know who's working for the king. Just because the general public doesn't know that you specifically are the villain doesn't mean that the king doesn't have people who recognize you and know what your name is. It's stupid. It's stupid. And then there's this, like, random point, like, the plot was just going everywhere, first of all. Like, it's centered around the fact that they have this traitor in their midst and they're trying to figure that out, but it just goes in, like, random directions. Like, oh, this part is gonna be about the dragon that they have, and oh no, they're gonna capture this other magical animal, and then randomly, for some reason, Evie comes home one day and there's, like, an invitation to this party that's addressed to her, and she, like, knows probably a trap, but she goes anyway. And there's no discussion in her mind of, like, oh, should I do this or not? It's like, oh no, I'm gonna go. And then when she's on her way to this party that's definitely a trap, she sees all these other people that are also in the villain's employ, and all of them just decide to go, knowing it could be a trap, and, like, didn't do anything about it. They're all just very nonchalant about it. And then when you're there, the villain himself shows up. And, like, he also knows it's a trap. But, like, maybe he's there, you know, to do some investigating or something. No, he's there to drink wine and dance with Evie. And that's what he does. Even though he knows it's a trap and knows he should be, like, looking out for the king's men and shit. Why? Like, what kind of evil mastermind is this? How has he lasted so long against this king? It doesn't make any sense. My second biggest gripe is with the writing. The writing is just so bad. I shared, like, a little excerpt with you, my last check-in, and the whole book is just like that. Like, it's supposed to be an adult book, but it reads like a middle grade because that's how cringy it is and how hard it is to try to be, like, funny and lighthearted. It's just so bad. I haven't read writing this bad in a long time, and I read all the Bridgerton books. Like, those aren't, like, the standards of bad writing, necessarily, but they're not known for being well written. And this is so poorly written. It also falls into, like, the most annoying tropes for a female main character, where, like, number one, she's so clumsy, guys, and she's falling all the time. But don't worry, because the villain is catching her in his arms. And she's also so devastatingly beautiful, but she doesn't recognize it. And everyone loves her and everyone's attracted to her. And she's constantly making the worst jokes in the entire world that you are forced to read in this book. But everyone else is laughing so hard that they're falling over and they can't breathe over, like, the stupidest things that a person can possibly say. And I think really the writing is summarized in the very last thing that's written in this book. It says, "The end." And then it says, "Well, ... for now." You didn't need to tell me that. This is the first book in a series. You didn't need to write that. That's stupid. It's so dumb. And, like, I understand from one perspective that people are only reading this because they want, like, a romance book. And it almost drew me in at some parts for that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there were some parts where I was like, okay, this is kind of cute. But overall, it just, like, the romance was stupid. It was just them constantly flirting and, like, making googly eyes at each other and then being like, oh god, he doesn't think of me that way, though. Or, like, oh god, I'm too much of a villain to have feelings for a woman. Like, and he's not even a villain because he doesn't do anything bad. And then they're always touching each other, and they're always, like, doing it in front of other people, and then none of them ever think twice. I hate it. I didn't like it. Maybe this is mean, but I don't understand why books like this are being published. This is, like, brain dead material. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if you like this book. I'm just not someone who likes like a cozy, sweet book for the most part. This isn't me, like, at all. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to be nice about it. I want to be like, if you like this book, that's okay. And it is okay. It really is. But why do you like this? Let me know, because I don't get it. Also, just because I'm doing a whole video on romantasy books, this book has no spice, which is actually like kind of refreshing, I think, because I feel like the genre has just been taken over by that. But if you're interested in this book, just know that beforehand, if that's something like you really look out for. This is a book that doesn't have any spice, so that could be an added benefit. Anyway, I'm done with this book now. I've decided that the next book I'm going to pick up, just purely randomly, I really didn't get any thought at all, is The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. I actually think I've read a book by this author before. Did she write the Wolf book? What am I thinking of? It's like Into the Wolf or like For the Wolf. What the fuck? I don't have it on my shelves anymore, so I don't know why I'm looking. It's like a Red Riding Hood retelling. I think this author wrote that, and I did not like that book, so I'm not excited about this one. For some reason, where is it? For some reason, I feel like I might like this one, but I have no idea why. I think I'm just going off of the fact that Books and Lala liked this one, so maybe I'll say this one for last. But I'm gonna start reading The Foxglove King, and I will let you know once I have an idea of the synopsis, because the little summaries are just always confusing. They're always just throwing too much information on you for like romantasy books. So I'm gonna go read this, and I hope that it's better than Assistant to the Villain. Please pray for me. See ya. I am 148 pages into, what's it called? The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. So I figured it was time for a synopsis, which I'm definitely gonna struggle with because this is a very hard book to describe, especially where I'm at in the beginning. But essentially this book takes place in a world where, I don't even know how to describe it. Well, first of all, where poison is like used recreationally as a drug. And you're following this main character, Lore, who is a spy for like a poison runner. And then the other thing about Lore, though, is that she has this like death magic where she can sense death in things. It's called mortem. And she can like use that in certain ways. It hasn't been fully fleshed out yet, but essentially she was working for her employer doing like a poison run or whatever, and she got caught by the Kingsguard, and she ended up using her death magic to reincarnate a horse to create a distraction so that she could get away. But she did end up getting caught, and then she's taken to like the king, and his brother is like this high priest figure. And so she was taken to both of them, and they essentially made a deal with her where if she agrees to work with them and spy on the prince, they won't kill her because typically anyone who uses mortem like that, it just gets killed and like burned at the stake. So she's kind of like working within the court right now, trying to get close to the prince to spy on him because the king believes that he is like sending information to their enemies. So that's where I'm at with the book right now. And honestly, it's not reading like romantasy at all. And I think because of that, I'm starting to like it a little bit. I like how dark it is with it being like death magic and like her being able to like pull on the strings of death within someone to like reincarnate them, or I don't know what else she can do. That's all I know. She also has like this mysterious backstory where I guess like underneath this city there's like catacombs, and we don't know her backstory at all except for the fact that when she was 13 she was found outside the catacombs, and she has this like uncanny ability to tell if people are in the catacombs and like where they are inside of them. So there's some connection there. There's some like shadowy past, and then at the same time there's also like all this religious stuff about these two gods that I don't completely understand. But one of them was like the day god and he's worshipped, and another one was like the god of night, I believe, and she's like buried under the city and she bleeds mortem into the city. I don't really understand what's going on. I think that's my one like complaint right now, is that it's just very like heavy. It just like hits you in the face with all this information, and it doesn't like completely describe everything, which I guess is good because I don't want something like in the exposition to just be like info dumping on me, but it also does make it like a little difficult to get into the book at first because you're just feeling confused and not understanding what they're talking about. I do think though that in general, again, like I like the death magic, I like how dark it is, but we haven't gotten to the romantasy part yet. So that might change my opinion. The main character, Lore, has interacted with the prince only like a handful of times right now, like never really alone or anything, so I don't know what their dynamic is gonna be like, and I just don't know how I'm gonna feel, is the thing. I'm hoping it's more fantasy than romantasy because I think I have a greater chance of liking it then, and I do want to like it, honestly, with this one, with the magic system being how dark it is. I want to like it. So who knows, maybe I'll end this video with a new favorite. We'll see. I wasn't expecting it to be like this at all. I had no expectations going into this. I had no idea what this book was about. I just bought it because it was in Goodreads choice words. But yeah, those are my thoughts as of right now, and I'll update you when I'm finished. Hey guys, I have finished The Foxglove King. Yes, I couldn't even remember the name of the book, so that's a good sign, right? And I am shocked, but I'm giving this 3.5 stars. Although I have to say, like, I'm pretty sure the only reason I enjoyed this book so much is because it's not a romantasy. So does it belong in this video? Not really, but I'm gonna include it in the video, definitely, because it was advertised as romantasy by Goodreads. So, the reason I said that this isn't really romantasy is because it's just so much more fantasy. When I think of romantasy, I think of a book that has romance at the foreground and the fantasy is more so like a setting. Like it might have some fantasy plot points, but the main focus is really the romance. And this was the opposite way around. Like the main focus was the fantasy. There was a romantic subplot, but it didn't take up that much time. But that's good for me because it meant that I actually enjoyed the book. I mean, everything I said before still stands. I really liked that it's like this death magic. I like how dark that is. I like our main character Lore, and I liked the prince Bastion as well. Bastion, I don't know how to say his name. Anyway, I liked him. And I think that, first of all, if you're someone who really likes like political maneuverings in books, you'll like this one. There's also a really heavy religion element, which I'm not sure if I spoke of before, but basically there's like a high priest who's the second most powerful guy in the realm, and he has like a group of other, I forget what they're called, but they're other like priestlings who can also channel death magic, but only in a very, very insignificant way. So it's like nothing to match that of our main character. But there's all this lore, like not lore, it's religion. There's all this religion in the book, like there's all these stories about the gods. I eat that shit up in fantasy. I love a fantasy book that talks heavily about religion. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So I really enjoyed that. That doesn't mean it was perfect though. Like I said before, I don't think it was info dumpy at the beginning, but it was hard to get into because you're kind of just like thrown into this world and these terms are being thrown at you and you don't really know what they mean because the world isn't like, I don't know what to do about that though, to be honest, because I don't want her to have just written like really clumsy exposition explaining everything, but I do feel like there are authors who can do a better job at that, if that makes sense, as like easing you into the world instead of just throwing you into it. So I don't think that was perfect, but I do think it didn't take like too long to really understand what was going on. And then once you understood, it was like easy going from there. The one other thing I will say is that I didn't really like the main character Gabriel that much. He was like one of 3 main characters. And I just thought he fell a little flat to me, personality-wise. It just felt like his whole story was just his trauma and there was like nothing else to him, which is kind of annoying because he was like the main love interest. It's hinting at a love triangle. I didn't really get there. It's hinting at it. But the love triangle was definitely leaning towards Gabriel, which I did not like because I liked the prince so much more. I thought he had like an actual interesting personality and seemed like a good guy. Whereas Gabriel just has daddy issues for the most part. Will I continue with this series? I don't know, to be honest. It's not something that I feel like, oh my god, I need the next book right now. But it's not something that I would like never continue on with. As I say, just the most bland statements possible. I found it on Book Outlet for only like $9, so I might buy it, but I might not. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by this one. But that's because it's not really a romantasy, so what could you do? So next, I'm going to be picking up Psyche and Eros by Luna McNamara. I don't know anything about this book. I just know that it's like Greek mythology. I read like the first page of it last night after I finished The Foxglove King, and the writing seemed like a little cringy almost. So I'm hoping that doesn't continue for the rest of the book. Maybe I was just extra judgmental, you know, because I just finished a fantasy book instead of a romantasy book, so I wasn't in the headspace. Pray for me. This is another one I'm not really excited about, but I had good luck last time, so maybe I just need that to continue. Who knows? Anyway, I'm gonna get to reading, and I'll update you when I have a synopsis. See ya. Hey guys, I'm here, and I finally have a little update for you on Psyche and Eros. I can finally give you the synopsis. I'm also here with Saphira, who's desperate to sit on my lap. She's so desperate, but she can't sit on my lap right now because I'm afraid she's gonna mess up the mic. So, anyway, the book we're all here for. I am 72 pages into it. So what is happening is essentially you're following Psyche and Eros, go figure. Each of them has their own chapters with their own POVs though. And Psyche, before she was born, her father went to see the Oracle, and the Oracle told him that she was going to be this great hero. So as soon as she's born, he has her training like a boy, learning like arrows and stuff like that. And then when she gets a little older, he hires this great hero to train her. And then Eros, it's following from the time he was created to the time that like the Titans fell and Zeus took over control, and now there's Aphrodite, and Aphrodite, even though she came after him, is somehow like his mother or something now. And essentially, Psyche just killed her first like major beast or something, her first heroic act, I guess. And so people started comparing her to Aphrodite for her beauty, and this pissed Aphrodite off. So Aphrodite went to Eros, and Eros has like these arrows where he can like shoot people and then they fall in love. And she corrupted one of his arrows, like cursed it, so that the person who is shot with it, the curse is something like they fall in love with the first person they see, but then they're forever separated from them, something like that. So it's like they can never have their true heart's desire. And he wants her to shoot it at Psyche as revenge because people compared them. I don't know. I'm not liking it that much so far, to be honest. It's kind of like I have to make myself read it. It's just like the writing isn't bad per se, but it's just like not great either. It feels kind of like stuffy, if that makes sense. Maybe that only makes sense to me though. So yeah, I'm not loving this. Not having a great time. Like, Assistant to the Villain was like hard to read because it was cringy, but at least it was very fast paced. This book, it feels like nothing's like happening. Like, it just feels so boring. So I'm not excited about it. But I will get back to reading it so I can give you my review. I'm going to sit down for an hour before I study, and I'm just going to devote an hour to this, and then hopefully I'll get like 100 pages further in. So, I have finished Psyche and Eros, and I am giving this 1 star, which sucks. Because, like, okay, I know I don't like romance books, I don't like romantasy, but I still want to like the books I spend my money on. I bought this book at full price. This book was $30. I wanted to like this, okay? And I didn't, and it sucks. I was honestly the most hopeful for this one out of all of them because I like Greek retelling, so I thought that could get me in that angle, but it didn't. I think my first issue with this book was the writing. It was not skillful. It was really plain, and it was all tell, no show. Like, there are moments, I like can't do this without spoiling things, so I'm just being really vague. There are moments where things were really obvious, but the author still felt the need to like write them out. It just like makes you feel like the author thinks you're dumb. And the author was just like never able to make me emotionally connect to the characters or the story at all. Like, she was never able to pack a punch with her writing. There were like multiple points in this book where like an important character dies unexpectedly, and it's supposed to be like a plot twist kind of. I guess if you don't know the original myth, it's supposed to be a plot twist. If you already know it, then it's not surprising. But for me, it was supposed to be a plot twist because I'm not familiar with this myth. And every time it was just like whatever. And like the character just continued on. Like, the character never really cared that much, except for the one death, I will say. She showed a little bit of caring then, but like I never cared. Even though this was supposed to be like a shocking thing that happened, it never really fazed me. I was just like, whatever, and I kept reading. Like, that's how dry and like boring the writing was. Like, I couldn't even care about like important characters dying. It was crazy. I think the characters also weren't really fleshed out. They felt like caricatures, especially because I was reading some Goodreads reviews before I started filming this, and I found out that apparently Psyche in the original myth isn't like this I'm not like other girls type character. Like, she's supposed to be more feminine. She's not supposed to be trained to be a hero. She's not supposed to like know how to do combat and slay monsters and stuff. Like, she's supposed to be a more feminine character. At least that's what the Goodreads review said. And that makes it even crazier that the author chose to make her like that. Because I feel like it didn't add anything to the story. It was just kind of made the story more boring, if anything, because I'm so used to these characters that are like, I'm not like other girls. I know how to use a sword, you know? That was her defining trait. And Eros wasn't really interesting either. Like, he was just super apathetic, and then he was cursed, and he was in love with Psyche, And then that was his only defining trait. Like, it's just so boring. Even a character like Aphrodite, he should be so interesting. Like, I'm really interested in the Greek gods, so I was excited to read about them. But Aphrodite is just like stupid in this book. Like, the whole she wants to curse Psyche because someone said she was as beautiful as Aphrodite thing is just stupid. And like, maybe the gods were petty like that in the original myths, but it doesn't translate well into like modern day fiction. There should have been something added there, like, especially because Psyche wasn't known for being pretty in the entire book at all. She was known for being like this warrior girl. So why does like Aphrodite care? I don't know. I don't like it. Another really annoying thing this author did is she was just trying to squeeze in like as many notable characters from Greek myths as she could. Like, we got like Achilles, we got Patroclus, we got, what's her name, Penelope, we have Odysseus. We just have like every character that's like well known from a Greek myth is like shoved into this book at some point. And it just felt really unnecessary. It felt like the author cared more about name recognition than plot, because like, although there were things like happening in the story, it was so boring. It was so boring to read about. Like, she's going on these quests and stuff with Eros, and then like later on in the book, she's definitely going on these quests by herself. But it's just like, there was no weight given to any situation. Like, she was given these impossible tasks by Aphrodite towards the end of the book, and she just did them like that. Like, it was so easy for her. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, honestly. I feel like I'm just rambling now. I did not like this book. I really would not recommend it because I don't really see anything redeeming about it, which is kind of harsh. But I did read that the author, like, has a master's degree from Harvard, and it almost feels like that's the only reason this book was published. Is because someone was like, ooh, a Harvard grad. Which I guess is a little harsh. But I just really think that her writing and storytelling was really subpar. So, not a book for me. Let's move on to the next one. What is the next one? I forget what it's called. It is called Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. Maniscalco, I don't know how to say her last name. This is the last book of this vlog. Please, God, let me like this one. Like, I guess I like The Foxglove King, you know? But I just want to really like a book. I'm tired. This is the 4th book now. I want to read a book that I love. I want this challenge to be over with. So, I'm going to get reading, and I'll update you once I have a synopsis. See ya. I am 106 pages into Throne of the Fallen, so I figured it was time to give you a little bit of synopsis. The thing is that I don't really know how to describe this book, so I will be doing my best. So essentially, so far, this book is following 2 different perspectives. The first is the perspective of a human named Camilla. She is an artist and she owns an art gallery. Her father was also an artist and he started the gallery, but he died. And she is currently being blackmailed by this Lord Vexley, who caught her... What'd she do? I forget. He caught her, like, making an imitation of an already famous painting. What's that called? Saphira, do you know? She doesn't know. It's like a forgery. That's it. He caught her making a forgery of a really famous painting, and so he's been blackmailing her into, like, making more for him so that he can sell them and make money. He's also trying to get her to marry him, and she does not want to marry him because he's a rake. And then you're also following the perspective of this Lord Envy or something. I don't know what the fuck his name is. And he is a demon of hell, I guess. And apparently there's like 7 demons of hell for the 7 deadly sins. So he's descendant of envy. And he's playing some game that I don't understand. But like, the game is like, there's these clues that he has to follow and he's trying to win, and that's all I really know. But his most recent clue has led him to Camilla, and he needs to commission her to paint a hexed object, which she refuses to do so because she just refuses flat out to paint any hexed objects. I don't really understand what's happening in the story, which is a little crazy for being 106 pages in, but it is a pretty, like, sizable book. If you can... No, you can't see. Like, I'm only this far through, so, like, it makes sense if it takes a little bit more time for you to fully understand what's happening. If the world building takes a little longer. I think it just threw me off because it's just so silly in a lot of different ways. Like, the fact that he's, like, this king of hell, and he's king of envy, and, like, it's just like, okay, whatever, dude. You're taking yourself a little seriously. I will say this book, far more horny than the other books I've read. All the other books I read were, like, very little spice at all. Like, one of them mentioned maybe, like, beginning to have sex and it didn't happen. And this one is full on, like, they're talking about boners constantly. They are not shying away from that subject material. And this is kind of what I expected the other ones to be like too, and they didn't end up being like that. So I guess this is more of like the standard romantasy that I was expecting. And there's already a lot of tension between like Camilla and the Lord of Envy or whatever the fuck his name is. I still don't know what his name is. I don't know what his name is because he's going by like a fake name to Camilla. He calls himself like Lord Sinton or something. Hi, Saphira. Saphira's really slowly crawling onto my lap because she's really confused by what I'm doing. Aren't you? She's the sweetest cat in the entire world. I love her so much. So yeah, that's why I don't know his name. Because he keeps just going by a fake name. And so I keep getting confused as to what his real name is. There's a lot of things I'm not understanding, if you're catching that. But I am enjoying it so far, I think. Like, the tension between the two characters is fun. They're clearly very attracted to each other. I don't fully understand why Camilla won't paint something because it's hexed, but I guess it has to do with the world building or something. I don't know. We'll find out. So that's all for now, and I will let you know once I have some actual thoughts on the books. Maybe when I understand it a little better, I'll be able to like actually talk about it more. That's the hope. Let's hope I can talk about the book that I'm making a reading vlog about. Anyway, the lighting is getting worse and worse as we speak, so I'm gonna end it here and I'll see you soon. Okay, I have finished Throne of the Fallen, so let's talk thoughts. Thought daughter action here. I'm not sure that this book is a thought daughter book, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm giving this book 2.5 stars. So you may get the feeling this book isn't for me, and you'd be right in that. I think my main issue with this book is an issue I have with a lot of romantasy, and it's like, this book is just porn. Like, every single paragraph, I feel if the main characters weren't like eyeing each other up, then they were flirting. If they weren't flirting, then like they were aroused and like touching each other or having sex. Like, it was just nonstop. And I think like because of that, and also because I didn't realize this was a spin-off series, I think because of that the world building kind of suffered. But like personally, I understand that romantasy is gonna have something like that, like pornish, some spice, I guess is what people say. I understand that, and it's not like I hate it. It's just that I don't like when it overpowers everything else and there's like nothing else to the book. And I feel like a lot did happen in this book plot-wise. Like, we were taken from place to place to place, like, for this game. But at the same time, it feels like the sex was the main focus of everything all the time. Like, it got to the point where, oh my god, I also have to say this, when they finally did have sex, because for most of the novel they're not, they're just like touching each other. When they finally have sex, it lasts like 3 to 4 chapters. Not that they're long chapters necessarily, but like, what? It doesn't need to last that long. If you had told me before this that I would read a book that had a 4-chapter long sex scene, I would tell you no, that's not possible. But apparently it is possible. Anything is possible, I guess. It was just crazy. But my point is that it got to the point where, like, it was distracting from the other stuff that was going on, like, heavily. And there was one point where, like, they were having sex, and it's just like, aren't you supposed to be, like, concerned about the consequences that will happen to your court if you just like completely ignore the game and just have sex for the rest of the book? Like, they're at a point where, I'm not sure if I said this before, like, Envy's playing this game and it's because his court, there's something wrong with it. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Like, there's like this fog that's come over his court that's like killing people, and so he really needs to win the game so that he can restore his court. So like, there's something important here, you know? Like, it's not like you can just totally forget about that and just have sex the whole book, but that's apparently all he wanted to do. But yeah, because of this, and because of the spin-off series, I feel like the world building really suffered. Like, I guess the original series follows the King of Wrath, which makes sense because I do feel like a lot of stuff was just said about him that I didn't fully understand, and that's like my other issues, that I didn't understand things that were happening. Understood that there's like this mortal world, and then there's also these other realms that different magical creatures rule over, like demons, vampires, apparently there's werewolves, and there's other stuff too. I got that part, but then it feels like every chapter or so a new, like, all-powerful creature was getting introduced that I had never heard about before, and that I didn't totally understand. I can't say specifically, like, when, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I was confused. And maybe if you've already read the original series, it wouldn't be confusing to you, so maybe I should have started with that. But I do feel like if you're doing a spin-off series, you should be able to read it independently. Like, for instance, Libor Dugo, she has the original Grishaverse trilogy, but then she also has the Six of Crows duology, and you can totally read Six of Crows without reading the Grishaverse first, without reading the Grisha trilogy first. Like, you'd be fine. And that's how I feel like these books should be. But this one, I definitely, like, left a lot confusing. I do also feel like the characters weren't totally fleshed out. Like, their whole character personality was just, like, snide remarks and being horny. There was, like, not much else to them, which was especially disappointing for Camilla, the female main character, because she was... I'm not trying to spoil anything here. She's supposed to be like a human, you know? Like, she was raised among humans. She's supposed to have human emotions, but, like, she's just mad or horny. And that's it. So this book really was not for me. I would say I think this book is for fans of, like, Sarah J. Maas, or people who are really into, what's that dragon book? Fourth Wing. Like, if that's the kind of books you want to exclusively read, then this book would be a good next one up for you. But for me, no. This was not it for me. 2.5 stars. Like, I didn't hate it. It was a little bit better than just okay, but I didn't really like it either. It was an easy read, I will say that, but just not my cup of tea at the end of the day. I do also want to say that that one fantasy book, where is it? It's all the way up there. I don't feel like getting it. The Foxglove King. I'm pushing my rating down to a 3-star instead of 3.5. I think I was just very excited because it wasn't romantasy. I think that just made me rate it higher than I should have. So that book was, I guess, the best book I've read. The worst book was definitely Assistant to the Villain. I can't get over that. Although Assistant to the Villain, I guess, is only, like, slightly worse than Psyche and Eros. And Throne of the Fallen falls in the middle somewhere. So, this is my experience reading romantasy books as a romance hater. If you've read these books, down below, let me know. If you think I should make another video doing a niche romance genre, let me know and I'll give it a shot. We'll see if I can find my romance genre. Like, there has to be a subgenre there where I can actually maybe like it, other than, like, an Emily Henry book. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video. Goodbye!